Hello everyone, today we're going to be creating my bullet journal for 2021. I did purchase this Tsuki notebook. It is 160 GSM paper and it is a B5 size with 170 pages. It has beautiful silver gilding on the side and the cover is made of black linen. I did get this free paper clip with it, which matches the theme of the notebook very well. And there is a back pocket to this journal as well. So the first thing that I began was with a key. I have used a bullet journal previously, however it was not in this way, but I am more than happy to have changed this because I think this is something that is going to suit me in the near future. The key is something that is completely dependent on you. You can use this one, you can use something else that suits you. So that's completely on you. I did use my own symbols. Now for the name, I did do a very simple design. The theme for this journal was just to simply have Art Deco theme, but not completely, a little bit modern, but with a bit of vintage. I did want to use coffee a lot in this theme, but the paper just wasn't working out. As of now, I am just filling in all the gold lines with my Finetec gold, which really just pops that gold. I know that the gold is not one of the colors I should be using, but somewhere I just felt I needed to use gold in this one because it was very Art Deco, very decorative style. Now for the 2021 cover page, I did do this kind of decorative design and I just lined it out and it was very simple. It did take a bit of time. This is time-lapse. And I just went with the flow of it as I was feeling the lines and just kept going about it. And it eventually just turned out pretty good. I felt really happy about it. And I do like the design. It's simple, it's not too much. And it kind of gives off an aesthetic that I really like. As you can see on the left, the coffee did stain my paper, and even on this paper it did stain, so I decided to drop out the idea for using coffee throughout my journal and just kept it to the first two pages. I do like how the curves I ended up being in this one. This is something that I took inspiration from. It isn't my own design. I haven't chosen a completely Art Deco theme, however, I did want to inspire it by it. I am not the first one who's done this, so that's it doesn't matter. Taking inspiration from people is something that's always been there. We always need inspiration from someone or the other. I did want to use silver for this journal, but I was a little skeptical about how the silver would look on white paper, so I chose gold instead. I'm not the biggest fan of the color gold. I don't love it, but somehow I just have fallen in love with my Finetec gold recently and I've been enjoying using it. So here I'm just using my Finetec gold to outline the 2021 letters that I have just written, and I wanted to keep the first page very simple and minimalistic, although it's not minimalistic. The next page is my future log. However, as you can see, my camera just keeps losing focus and focusing again, and this did end up a very weird shot. So I was just like, I didn't know what to do about it, and this is the only footage I have of this. And I did try to keep my future log very simple, and as you can see, the coffee did seep through the paper a bit and is visible, so I had to literally be very smart about covering it. Now while doing the titles, I I had no clue. I thought I would do a black background and write with my gold pen on it, but things just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So what I did was I painted over it with my Finetec Gold, which gave out this really gold green finish, and I kind of liked it. And now I was worried as to what I was gonna do. So here is me covering up those coffee stains with a bit of abstract strokes. That's it. I wanted to keep it very simple. I didn't want to overdo it, and I really like how it turned out. I did add in something that normal people wouldn't, which is an astrology calendar, because I have been studying astrology and I have been following it lately, so I'm pretty intrigued by it, and I do want to keep tabs on the astrology for 2021, so I know the kind of energies that are surrounding me personally during the time and what I should focus on with retrogrades and stuff. So I kept it, again, another very simple one, which was it is kind of identical to the future log. However, I did minimize a lot of the decoration and all and kept it far more simple. And I did have to record this at 2 different times, so as you can see, one of the videos was recorded during nighttime in artificial lighting, and this part of it ended up being in natural lighting, which I actually prefer because this is my first video that I'm recording as such, and I prefer natural lighting over artificial, so probably this is what I'm going to go for. I did keep it very simple. I added these little circles because it did end up looking pretty simple and plain, and I didn't want it like that. I did end up filling this astrological calendar off screen for multiple reasons, because there was just too much writing and I didn't want to bore people in the video of me just putting in writing things that was going to be astrological. As you can see, I did add in some circles and dots throughout the month. I wanted it to be simple, and it does look simple even with the dots, but it was just a bit more gold to balance out all the black that was gonna be in this spread. Although some of the spreads are a bit more decorative, as you'll see further on. This one's a bit more simple and I kind of like it this way. Now my next spread is my grid spacing spread. This spread is just for the spacement for when I'm planning out my journal and to make it simpler so I don't have to keep counting dots over and over again. And I have my halves, my quarters, and my 1/3 marked on this page. It is also on the left side of the page for a reason, so when I'm flipping back and forth, it is much easier for me to see. All of the materials that I am using in this spread, I will put a list and link it down below. I did make sure to keep my grid spacing spread very, very simple and minimalistic. I didn't want to overdo it because it was something that was supposed to help me out. The font, I did use a bit of calligraphy and a little bit of gold here and there, which I did go over with a bit of my Finetec Gold later on because I kind of liked how that ended up looking in the future, because the pen just wasn't enough, I felt. The next page is actually my quote page, and the beginning of the recording was lost, so I only have part of it. The quote that I chose for this is that I have the power to create the life I desire, and it is something that I've been learning to live by recently. So just focusing on myself and creating what I want in my life and manifesting it in every way possible. It was simple and I kind of kept a very black theme. I didn't overdo it. I kept it simple and stuck to my theme of the Art Deco theme. I did try to play with a lot of fonts, but tried not to overdo it because I wanted to have a specific message through each word come out, and That's why Desire is in such a decorative form, and the others are just far more simpler, and Power is a little bit more bold. Create is a bit more creative. On the creative side, a little bit different than the regular. As you can see, my camera is just going out and coming in. I have no idea what was wrong with it at that time, but it just kept going out, coming in, going out, coming in, and I tried to stabilize it in the future a little bit. Now, I didn't add an entire border to the spread, but I did add some decorative golden corners because the black was just overpowering and I needed a bit more of gold to balance out whatever, like the entire dark black, and the edges just ended up making it look prettier and more decorative, which was kind of the Art Deco style always. Now I am using my Finetec gold to go over it, and as you can see on the grid spacing spread, I did add a few dots because I felt it just added more to it without adding too much, and kept it simple though, and it followed the theme that I used in the astrology. As you can see, I'm going over with all the gold, and I have this tendency of putting a paper beneath my hand when I'm working so I don't ruin my pages or anything. Like most of the times I work with pencil and the pencil doesn't end up smudging if I do that. Just a precaution that I take all the time. So my next spread is my ideal day spread. Now, I felt this was important for me is because I work from home most of the times, or I do go to school, but are currently, because of the situations that's been going around the world, I have been unable to go to school for several reasons. So I decided this was a good way to plan my day when I am at school and for when I am at home, because I divided it equally so I could follow either a weekday schedule or a weekend schedule as per however I want to. Although it's not gonna be like this, I'm not gonna stick to it 100%. There is space for movement for it, and I do not fill it out in this video because I didn't want to bore you with it. So I just made the basic spread, and during the final flip through you'll see the one opposite it is my goals page. I decided to have goals for 2021 that I wanted to fulfill, and I decided to divide it into two columns. One on the left is what my goals are, and on the right I'm going to plan how I'm going to move forward with them and have a structure in mind. And I decided to do this really intricate divider in between, which I kind of really fell in love with when I saw, and I was cursing myself throughout painting this. Why did I decide to do it even though I fell in love with it? But it does end up looking pretty good, and I do end up really loving it because it adds that bit of gold to the spread. As always, I just started to love with it. I didn't use a pen for this, for I don't know why. I just felt it was easier to just paint to over it, and the paint is pretty opaque, which is pretty surprising. I mean, the gold compared to the other colors is pretty opaque when you paint. A single coat of gold does do the trick pretty well, so I do end up using it just as it is. But if I did want to do like fine lines or something, I would probably go over it with a pen. Now I do cover up my mistakes with a Jelly Roller white pen that I've had for quite a while. Now my next spread is inspired by Plant-Based Brides spread from last year's bullet journal, 20 Ways to Love Myself. I did do a 21 Ways to Love Myself. It just felt like I needed to give myself more love in order to fill up my cup for myself. and it was a good way to build on myself and try and keep reminders to myself to not lose my path every time I feel stuck. I could just revise back to this page. I did do this very simple decorative flourish, which is very different from the entire geometric designs that I did in the previous spread, and I kind of like this decorative style because somewhere I feel like I resonate with spirals. The page next to this spread is my want and my need spread. I feel this is something that would be really helpful for me in the long run, because a lot of the times there are things that I want and then a couple of months later I just don't want them anymore, or I don't feel like they are an important necessity for me. So this spread is just gonna help me figure out if I really need something, or is it something that I just want, and it can also help me save up for when I need. Now my last spread is my Kanban board. I did use 2 pages for this because I divided my Kanban boards into 2 parts. One is for the videos and one is for my project that I do on the side, which won't be recorded or anything for the video, which I work on a normal basis, my plans and my progress and everything, just tracking it down. I have a tendency of starting multiple projects at once and then kind of losing track of what I had started and what's put aside. I know for sure this is going to be really helpful for me in the future. And now for the final flip through of my 2021 bullet journal. As you can see, I wish I'd put the coffee stains in a bit more organic way, but I do love this page. It is one of my favorites from this bullet journal, and you will see that I have filled up quite a few pages, especially part of my future log, and I have filled up my astrology calendar, and you'll see that, as you can see, it's filled to the brim. Like, I made sure I had enough spaces for everything that I needed to write during a particular month, and it's filled, it's color coded and labeled, which you can't really see on the screen. My favorite page, the quote page as well, and I really like how the grid spacing turned out as well. Simple and nice. I did fill up my ideal days, so towards the left I have the weekday and the weekend. I am yet to fill my goals, which I will do later, and I might create a video on 21 ways to love myself. I have not filled my want and need page because currently I just don't have anything. And my final page, my Kanban boards. That's it for this video, and bye.